How to Make a Killing is a new dark comedy starring Glen Powell. To give you a brief plot synopsis, it follows a man, Beckett, who is disowned at birth by his extremely rich family, causing him to lose his inheritance. When he grows up, he decides he wants to get his inheritance back, so he decides the only way to do it is to kill his 7 relatives, so that way he is next in line to receive this huge inheritance. The film doesn't come out until February 20th, I think. I was able to see it a little earlier because my theater does this thing where once a month they release a movie early. Usually it's like 4 days early, I think. And you can go see it for half the price of a normal movie ticket. Only catch is, you don't know what movie you're seeing. It's a mystery. Literally, all you're told is the age rating and a rough estimate of the runtime. I don't think it's an exact estimate because it's usually like a little higher, a little lower, I guess, to help with the mystery of what you're watching. But aside from that, you can't figure it out until you're literally sitting in the seat watching the movie. So it's really just a gamble because you could end up seeing something really good, or you could end up seeing something really bad. And so that's what I did. And of course, the movie I ended up seeing was How to Make a Killing. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually a pretty solid movie. There was a lot I liked about this movie. I thought the story was a very interesting concept, and I think they did a good job executing it in a very fun and enjoyable kind of way. Because there wasn't really any time in the movie where I got bored or I started losing interest. It managed to hold my attention from beginning to end. I thought the acting overall was pretty good from everybody. There wasn't really any performances I thought weren't great. And, you know, that really helped with the comedy of this movie, which I also thought was really good. There was very few misses on the jokes. Basically, every joke had me laughing. And the rest of the theater I saw it with seemed to agree because they were also laughing along with me. This is a very unserious movie. It is, like, primarily a comedy. It does have its few serious moments here and there, but pretty much everything is, like, set up for a joke or followed up with a joke, which usually I don't like. Usually I prefer it whenever it has its serious moments and it's able to, you know, actually keep it serious instead of just immediately following it up with a joke. I think doing that usually ruins the moment. And this one did do it a couple times, but it did it well, in my opinion. Like, yes, sometimes it did have a serious moment, and then it would follow up with a joke, but it did it to a point where it didn't fully ruin the moment, and in some cases, it actually improved upon it, because it fit the story well. But if you were expecting, like a serious tone, this probably isn't for you. There wasn't really a lot of stuff I didn't like about the film. The list of the good was definitely much bigger than the bad, but there were a few things I wasn't a fan of. Like, throughout the entire film, it's being narrated by the main character, Beckett. And the film basically starts out with a scene of, "Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. Well, to figure that out, we have to go back to the beginning." It doesn't start out exactly like that. It's basically a more well-written version of that, but it's basically the same thing. And so throughout the movie, he's narrating over scenes, and then sometimes it'll cut to him narrating in person. And it does add to the story a little. It did give some funny jokes, and it did help you understand things a little better. But overall, I think it hurt the film more than anything because it's a very, like, fast-paced film. Like, there are very few moments when it slows down. There's basically always something happening. And so, you have this kind of fast pace, and you're going along, and suddenly you just stop. And then it cuts to him narrating in person. And then it just stops for, like, that maybe, like, minute, probably not even a minute or so, before it cuts back to, like, the main story. It wasn't horrible. It was, like, as far as that cliche goes with the narrator and stuff, it was fairly well done. I just think they could have easily written that out of the film and told the story the exact same way. The second thing I wasn't a huge fan of was actually one of the characters. Her name was Julia. Not that she was, like, not played well. I think her actress played her pretty good. It's just the character herself, I thought was really weird inclusion, and it just kind of, I don't know, it didn't ruin the story, but it made me, like, not really care for it as much, because her character and what she adds to the story makes it feel like a different movie than what everything else was making it out to be. And, you know, I liked her in the beginning of the movie, and then the middle of the movie, I didn't really like her. Every time she was just on screen, it just felt off and like something completely different was happening. And then near the end, it did get better. But I don't know, I just think it would have been better if they wrote her out or just not write her out, but like give her like a smaller role, because the role she played at the beginning, I think, was good. It helped build the character of Beckett. Basically, she plays, like, her character is Beckett's childhood crush. And so I thought that was pretty good, but then the rest of it kind of dropped off. The last thing I wasn't a fan of was actually the ending of the film. Throughout the entire movie, it kind of gives, like, a little bit of mystery as to, like, what's happening. And so throughout the movie, you're like, oh, it could end this way, but it also could end this way. And you have, like, these two options. And throughout the movie, you're debating which one it could be. But then when you reach the end and figure out the actual ending, you're like, what? Really? Like, that's how you're going with this? It didn't ruin the movie or anything. The movie was still fun and enjoyable, and it's not like a horrible ending. It's just, it felt like it was just put in there purely just to subvert expectations. They're like, oh yeah, you thought it was going to be this? Well, boom, you're wrong, it's this. And I'm pretty sure they actually, like, made a joke about that during, like, the end of the movie. And kind of the same thing with the problem with the character of Julia. It just doesn't feel like it fit. Like, the rest of the movie had this specific tone, and it was all moving a certain way, and then you reach the ending, and you're like, that does not feel like what this movie is building up to at all. It feels like it just kind of, like, quickly flips a switch, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing now. And then you're like, wow, okay. Yeah. And also, because of the ending, we now have a huge plot hole that goes completely unanswered by the film by when the film ends. And, you know, this could have actually been fixed with the first issue, the narration. Because if you remove the narration, you fix the plot hole. Because the plot hole comes from the narration itself. Because the guy is just explaining the whole story. And so, since he's, you know, narrating the whole thing, you now have this huge plot hole. And by the time I realized what, like, the story was going to and what it was all gonna end with, I was like, are they gonna answer this? Like, are they gonna bring this up? Like, how are they gonna, like, get out of this? And then they just don't. They just completely ignore it. And so, yeah, like I said, it didn't ruin the film, but, like, it's just another, like, nitpick that could have, like, easily been fixed. But, yeah, honestly, that's it. There was not a lot of stuff I, like, didn't like. Like, it's a very solid movie overall, and honestly, out of, like, the 10 or so movies I've seen this year, this is definitely one of the best ones so far. So in conclusion, despite having some unnecessary narration and a questionable ending, How to Make a Killing still manages to be a very well-made and enjoyable film with a lot of great humor. Overall, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.